So, clinical psychologist Jordan Peterson was once asked what he thought about Ayn Rand. And he said, I do not consider her to be a very original thinker. That's just ludicrous. I grew up reading Ayn Rand. And while I never actually became the biggest fan, a lot of her concepts helped me understand the world just based on a few of her observations. The problem is that Ayn Rand is a very polarizing figure, especially today. And the reason she's so polarizing is because she had a bad habit of taking her philosophy and using it to write political opinions. And it's much too easy to muddy the waters by taking essays that were meant to be political policy considerations and saying that that was part of her blanket philosophy. So it's very easy to do that. So, case in point, if you go read Atlas Shrugged, which is a monumental book written to praise and put captains of industry on a pedestal, anyone who runs big business, anyone who is a creator and who develops a monopoly, she promotes and says they are the ideal human. If you read that book, you'll come away thinking that at the end of the day, all she wanted to promote was monopolistic practices, and anyone who is smart enough to develop a monopoly should keep it. That is not who Ayn Rand is, but that is who Ayn Rand has been pigeonholed into being because she has essentially become a meme. And so the problem is when you try to explain to people that Ayn Rand is not the meme they make her out to be, they say, well, you just don't understand, and you're like a lot of her followers. Now, this is coming from Seth, who is not an objectivist. I don't subscribe to her philosophy, but I do read enough of her works to understand where she's coming from with a lot of the things she says. But again, it's much too easy to pigeonhole her and make her seem like she's something she's not, especially if you consider the time period she was writing for. So she grew up in the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. She saw firsthand the dangers of collectivist ideologies. And so she decided that the best way to counteract that would be to develop her own radical ideological framework, which would support capitalism and promote the individual. It was a very ambitious political undertaking, and she did it, and she did it well. The problem is that at the end of the day, a lot of the things that she wrote that were political essays have been twisted into suggesting that they represent a long term philosophical framework that she had. And so, again, I don't think if Ayn Rand lived now, she would be writing books talking about why monopolies are good and AI stealing your data is good. I think that she was actually a lot more nuanced than they make her out to be. But at the end of the day, we're not usually hearing critiques against Ayn Rand, the person. We're hearing critiques against Ayn Rand, the meme. So I'm Seth Connell. This is my YouTube channel. If you thought this was an interesting rant, and you want to hear me go on more, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm always talking about interesting subjects, and I'd love to connect with you. Okay? Okay.